handles. Okay, so the mug, after you throw it on the wheel and trim the foot, you are ready to attach your handle. So here I have few different forms. These are pretty similar. A little taller. And these two guys I just threw for the demo sake. I didn't trim them. I threw them in such a way that the foot extends out a little bit, so I didn't have to trim. So if I don't have to trim it, but I still need to reduce the area on the bottom, so what I do, I just pop the bottom in. So it doesn't touch a lot of the table. So there's some kind of foot going on. Okay, there's so many ways to make candles. The easiest one of all is to take, the easiest method is to take your trimming tool, the trimmer, and just scoop some clay consistently. It'll keep the pressure consistent, and you have a handle. And then you just turn it the way you want it, right? Shape it. I'll make a little longer one. So there are different trimmers, different shapes, so you can choose what shape you want. Okay. So, the second easiest is to extrude it. So we have a handheld extruder, so you can just extrude your handle. The extruder has different dies. Dies are these inserts, and you put one inside, decide what form you want, what shape you want. Okay, and then just extrude it. Squeeze. Try to keep it straight. And trim it off. And then form it how you want it. So this one has several grooves. Okay. You can sculpt the handle, right? So any mini sculpture that you want. Then there's a technique called pull-in handles. So for pull-in handles, and this takes a bit of a practice. Pulled handles create this really smooth handles, and then there's a transition from thin to thick that you can vary. You can make this part thicker and this part thinner, so it's a smooth transition. So, but it takes a little bit of practice. So you take a chunk of clay and then shape it, reshape it into the carrot form. So what I did, I just did it like this. This clay is a bit too hard, but it's workable. And then just keep shaping it into a cone. Sometimes it helps to just grab, like establish some grooves here for your fingers so you can grab on it. And then you pull in the handle. So what does it mean? You literally pull this clay out. So it's sort of like throwing. So when you throw on the wheel, you use water, right, as to eliminate the resistance, and you just guide clay. So with this technique, you just pull, but you need to make sure that your hands are slippery, so there's plenty of slip, so it doesn't create any resistance, and you have the control of the clay rather than clay has control of you. And then Okay. Establish the side. So for example, I want this side to be the interior of my handle. So it'll have a groove that will be created by my thumb. And the outside will repeat the curve of my finger, the index finger. So very similar to milking the cow. If you squeeze too hard, going this way, then you can, and it gets too wide, you can narrow it down by running your fingers sideways like this. And then pull it again. This method works really well for pulling really long handles, for jars, for pitchers. So the trick is to keep the pressure consistent. So here you see me, I'm controlling the thickness, right? Like this, from sides. And then I'm establishing the groove. So, and you see the progression from thick to thin. I want to make it thinner at the tip. The common problem is that the pressure is not distributed evenly, and it just rips here. So if it does happen, you just, let's say it ripped. Just pinch it off, and then squeeze some more clay from the top, and keep shaking. Or if you find yourself making too short of a handle, you can add more length that way. Okay, once you have the length that you want, this is a little too long. And let's say maybe you want to define a better groove from your thumb. You need to cut it off, this chunk of clay, right? So you can pre-shape the handle how you want it. Right? So let's say you want it for this mug, right? So you can see how big you want it, right? So let's say you need this big. So you shape it an approximate curve that you want, lay it down, and trim it off, cut it off. You can use feather knife or a needle tool. So when you trim it off, right here, you need to know approximately at what angle you need to cut it. You can always establish that angle later, because what happens is that mugs have different curves. Here you see the curve going out, back in, back out again. So here I have one that I pulled earlier. And then if you look like this, so I just put this handle behind this mug, right? And this seems like a correct size for this mug. So the angle right here should fit into the angle right here. So, for example, here the curve, the lip is going more up, right? So this works better for this mug, right? But for this mug, It has to be a different angle maybe. So if you have a form that goes way out like this, then the angle should be really low. So once you lay it out in a curve that you want, let it harden to soft leather hard. And when it's on the board, you can put your mug over the handle to determine what curve works best with this particular mug. And then the extruded one also has been pre-shaped, so I showed you how to extrude, and you can form completely different curves, right? You can make it almost geometric. So the handle should be big enough for your fingers to go in. So you should think about that. So I like this size handle for this mug, but I need to establish a different curve, so I need to trim here a little bit. Establish a different angle. So you see the angle used to be this way, and now it's this way. So it fits better. Into the curve of the mug. Okay, so now I know that this handle will go with that cup. Now I have this extruded handle that I will use for this mug. Yeah. And then this newly pulled handle, so you can hold the mug above the handle and manipulate the handle how you want, and play with different shapes. The thicker part can be at the bottom too. So it's just, your imagination is the limit. And then tracing the curve of the mug, you make the mark on the handle so you know where to trim. Okay, now this one needs to set a little bit, and it'll be for this mug. Okay, I'll attach one, actually I can attach two, and then I'll show you another way to make handle, and that's actually my favorite way. But first I'll show you how to attach them. So, mark where you want your handle to be. Make sure that it's straight. The common mistake is that it goes sideways, right? So make sure that it's straight. And with the needle tool, just mark where you want your handle to be, because you need to scratch and slip. Okay, so now you scratch them. The handle and the mug. And then you slip. What you see me using is just the water with a little bit of the flocculant. So it creates instant slip. Sometimes if the mug is too firm, you can just keeps pouring and slipping till it feels like it's about to be ready. It has generated enough slip to grab the handle. Okay. And then press the top. Ow. Okay, so I'm pressing the top. And then smooth it out, make sure it's really attached. So find the point where you can really press really well. Because this is sort of the weak point, right? If there's a weakness to your work, it's at the joint. So you need to really make sure that your joint is constructed really well. Okay? And then I'm making sure that it's straight. And then I press. And that's why a lot of times you see the finger mark at the bottom here. So I support from the inside when I press, so my mouth doesn't collapse. So now it's pressed. And there's an uneven bottom here, which you can trim. And then smooth out with water. So here you have it. The handle is a little too long. Let's say I don't like the handle. Well, it's a little too long for my taste. So I want to cut to make it shorter. So I'll just reattach. A little too large for this small mug. Okay, so now the handle sort of fits the size of the mug. So the same with this extruded one. So the same thing. You attach it the same way. So let me show you a different way to make a handle. And I really like this way. Some towels. So you make a thick coil. And this is too thick, right? So it will become a handle, but you pull this handle right on the mug. So you attach the top, and then you pull it right off the mug, and then make a curve that works with the mug. So you should have a thick coil of clay. And then you pre-form it. So press it on both sides, so when you run your fingers, when you pull the handle off the mug, you don't have to do a lot of work. So you pre-form it into somewhat a little thicker than you want to end up with. So I just press it on both sides. A little too long, but you can always pinch off the excess. So then we are going to attach this top to the top of the mug right here. So it needs to be a little thicker. You can just tap here. And so I scratch and snip. and then attach really well. So I hold it from the inside, I support it from the inside as I press. So as I press, I thin out this area at the very top. So you can press both ways, I think. So when you tug on it, it should stay. So you should tug on it because you'll be pulling, you'll be tugging on it. So you should make sure that it really is attached. Sometimes what is helpful is to attach it and then wait a little bit. So you just put it at the edge of the table like this and wait for it to just set. Just a few minutes. Just a few minutes is enough. I'm going to go ahead and try it. If it doesn't set, then it'll just come off, right? It'll start over. Okay. So I'm going to pre-shape it a little more to make sure that I start with even thickness. And then I'm holding the mug like this as I'm pulling. You can establish one groove or two grooves. If you want two grooves, you run your fingers through on this side and then that side. I'll do one groove. There are all kinds of fancy methods to make a handle like this. So you can pull and then form it like this. So there are all kinds of ways. But this is pretty neat too. It makes your mug look very professional. Professional mug. I don't know what that would look like. Okay. So if you feel that the handle thins out here, it's about to detach, so just don't run your fingers at that place, right? So, and then lighten the pressure. So you'll be making a curve this way. So hold your mug upward. Under an angle. After its desired thickness, then you can establish the groove that you want. And then so here's what it's going to look like, right? So you need to, I just move it aside a little bit, you need to scratch at the attachment point, slip, press the handle. So before I did just one finger, you can do two fingers. It creates a different different look. If it's not the curve that you want, you can run your fingers inside and establish a different curve. Okay. And the last step is, somehow I just don't like the section. If you have a stamp with your name on it, So I support it from the inside. Sometimes it's easier to shape it this way, so it depends what curve you want. And just let it sit upside down while it sets, or right side up, it depends what the curve you desire. Okay, so and then clean up the edge here. The handles.